Hey everyone, in the previous lesson we learned how to select HTML elements using jQuery. Now let's see how we can change their content. So we are going to start with the HTML method, which is equivalent to the inner HTML property. So let's see how it works. To get started, we are going to work with this paragraph. So let me go to the inspector. So this paragraph has an ID of sample text. So let's try to get its inner HTML and also change it. I'm just going to copy this. Let's go to Visual Studio Code. So here, let's create a variable called content. And now I'm just going to use jQuery to select this element. So this is how we select an element by the ID. And now I can just call the HTML method. And if I don't pass any argument inside here, it is just going to get the content. So now let's do a console.log with the content. Let's go back there and see what happens. Let me go to the console first. I'm going to refresh the page. And now we can see that using the HTML method, we were able to get the content of that element. Alright, now let's see how we can use the same method to change the HTML content. So going back to Visual Studio Code, I'm gonna do the same thing. So select the element and call the HTML method, but this time I'm going to pass an argument here. So I'm just going to write new content. And if I do this and refresh the page, we can see that the content has been changed. So besides the HTML method, we also have the text method, but this one is a bit different. So as you can see here, we copied everything that was inside that paragraph, and we had this B element, which is used to turn this text into bold. So we had the B element around this word. This is why this is showing in bold like this. If we don't want to get HTML tags, we just want plain text, we can use the text method instead. So this time, this paragraph has an ID of sample text only. So let's go back there. And now let's do something similar here. So I'm just going to copy this. I'm just going to use text content. So the element I'm getting this time is called sample text only. So if I get the HTML, we know what's going to happen. Let me just comment all this. Refresh the page. If we do this, we can see that we just got the same thing. So here we have that HTML element, but instead, if we use the text method, refreshing the page, we can see that now we just got the text. So this method ignores the HTML tags. And as we will see in the next lessons, sometimes it can be very useful to just get the text. Now moving on to the next method, this one is called ATTR, or you can also call it the attribute method. So as the name suggests, it is used to get the attribute of HTML elements, such as the src of an image or the href of a link. So here we have a link. Let's inspect this to check what do we have inside. So here's the ID of this link. Let's just copy this. This time I'm not going to go to Visual Studio Code because I just want to show you that with jQuery, you can also write it directly in the console, just like you do it with plain JavaScript. So I'm going to use jQuery to select that element. So like this, don't forget the hashtag for IDs. And now I'm going to use ATTR, and this is going to be similar, but this time we always need at least one argument. And the argument is the name of the attribute. So this time, we just want to get the href of that link. So just passing one argument it is just going to get the age ref. But instead, if we pass two arguments, so the first one is the attribute we want to work with, and the second one is going to be the new value we want to set to this attribute. So this time I'm just going to write https:// I'm just going to use Udemy's website, so udemy.com. And when we do this, let's inspect that link again. If we click it, we can see that we just changed the age ref of this element. So now let's use the same method to change the src of this image, and let's do this when we press the button. So here we have a button called change image. Let's just copy this and take it to Visual Studio Code. And the image that we want to change has an ID of image or imagem. This is in Portuguese, so image.js. Let me just copy this. Alright, so before going ahead and getting a new image, let's just prepare the structure for this. So going to Visual Studio Code, let's set a click event to that button. So that button has an ID of change image. So with jQuery, the name of the event is click instead of on click. And we know that this is a method, so we open and close parentheses. We can use semicolon here. So inside this method, we are going to pass the function that is going to be executed when this event is detected. So function, open and close parentheses, open and close curly braces. So inside here, we just write the code we want to be executed. So what do we want to do? We just want to get that image that has this ID. And we are going to apply the attr method. And the first argument is the attributes we want to work with. So this time is the source of that image. And the second value is going to be the value we want to set. So let's go to Google Images and search for another JavaScript image. I'm just going to write JavaScript logo or something like this. So let's get a different one. So this one is good for our example. I'm just going to choose copy image address. And now going to Visual Studio Code, I'm just going to paste this link here. I'm going to save this and refreshing the page. When we click the button, we can see that we just changed the image. So this opens a new door for us in terms of possibilities to interact with the DOM. Now, after we do this, now this button is useless because this is only going to work in the first time. So one cool thing that we can do here, let's go back there. After changing the image, we can just hide that button. So with jQuery, it's very easy to do this. We can just select the button and use the hide method from jQuery. So saving this, we can just click in the button and then we just change the source of the image and now the button is hidden. Now before we finish, let's just see two more methods, which are the empty and remove methods. So let's say we just want to get rid of this element here. Let's see the ID of this element. So it has the ID of empty paragraph. So using plain JavaScript, we could just set the inner HTML to an empty string. We can also do this with jQuery. So we would just use the HTML method and just pass an empty string. If we do this, let's go to the console and just copy this. So as you can see, we just erased the content of this element. But maybe we want to completely remove this element, or maybe we just want to hide it and then show it later. So we have a few options with jQuery. So the first one is the empty method. So we don't have to pass an empty string. We can actually just use this method that's going to be exactly the same thing. So if we do this, as you can see, we just erase the content of this element. If you want to completely remove this paragraph, you can use the remove method. So if you do this, as you can see, now we don't see the black background anymore because now the element is gone. And the third option, we already talked about the hide method. So this can be useful if you just want to hide it now, but then maybe you are going to use it later again. So you don't want to erase the content or remove the elements. So in this case, you can just use the hide method. And the opposite of the hide method, we are going to talk more about this later, is the show method. So when we do this, the only thing jQuery does is setting the display of that element to none. So anytime we want it back, we can just call the show method, and now we have this element back again. So those are the most important and most used methods to interact with HTML elements. Of course, there are more, but that was all I wanted to say for now. And in the next video, we are going to talk a little bit more about forms. So I'll see you in the next video.